Good morning, buenos días, bienvenidos todos a nuestro café virtual con Hispanic Federation, donde estamos compartiendo en el día de hoy con dos panelistas. Mi nombre es Janitzi Vélez y soy la directora de la región de New England. Welcome to our virtual café. My name is Janitzi Vélez and I'm the New England Regional Director for Hispanic Federation. Once again, welcome back to our monthly virtual café series, a series that is intended to highlight the work of our member agencies and subgrantees, empower our community, and connect families to organizations, programs, and services in our community. This month, we will highlight the work of two brilliant immigrant rights advocates from our community in commemoration of the Women History Month. Throughout the conversation, you are welcome to drop your questions in the chat, and we actually encourage you to make questions as well and comments. Without further ado, join me today with a cup of coffee or your preferred morning drink, and let us welcome our special guest. Saludos, bienvenidas. We know that the immigrant community, whether documented or otherwise, face many challenges such as difficulty in speaking and learning English, raising children, helping them to succeed in school, securing work, securing housing, accessing to social services or community services, and even trouble with transportation. But these two panelists are splendid example of hardworking immigrant women that took the lead to help advance their immigrant families and communities in the state of Connecticut. First up, we have Nayeli Clavijo. She is 21 years old, community organizer and immigrant rights advocate. She is from Ecuador and raised in Spain. She came to the U.S. when she was 13 years old. She attended Nagasut Valley Community College, where she studies computer engineering. She worked closely with the Connecticut Students for a Dream, who run the Afford to Dream campaign, and campaign now turned into law that provides financial aid to undocumented students in the state of Connecticut. Her current role as the Danbury organizer with the Connecticut Students for a Dream allows her to help in the current campaign, Husky for Immigrants in Kernacus, while building youth leadership in Danbury. In addition, she also do college access program where she facilitates in school the different resources that undocumented students ask and need to be ready for college. I cannot imagine how that conversation will go, but it will be very exciting. Our second panelist is Dr. Anka Badurina, original from Venezuela. She is the executive director of Building One Community, the Center for Immigrants Opportunities, an organization dedicated to advancing the successful integration of immigrants and their families. She played an integral role in shaping the programmatic agenda and priorities for these organizations in matters that pertain to the civic engagement and economic integration of immigrants in the Stamford, Connecticut. Her work prioritized an equitable approach in her programs that incorporates the voices of the immigrant origins population in Stamford, Connecticut. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today, and thank you for being part of the Hispanic Federation Virtual Cafecito in the state of Connecticut and New England Regional.
Buenos días, Janitzi. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today and to share a space with you and Nayeli, and of course with everyone joining us today.
Thank you, Anka. Nayeli, let's start with you. You have a great record of involvement and achievement in the immigrant rights advocacy field. In a few words, what do you see as the key challenge facing undocumented youth today?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nayeli, and one of the things that I see undocumented youth having challenges with is access to higher education, because there has been many misconceptions about college and also the resources that undocumented students have, and there are, but there are not too many people talking about it. So one of the things that for me it's concerning is how higher education for undocumented students it's seen as difficult because they need to know the language, because they need to have their career, their major decided, because they need to have a really big and strong financial status. But not too many people talks about the aids that they are for undocumented students, like the ACTUS, which is the financial aid that Connecticut Students for a Dream passed last year, scholarships, and other things that can help an undocumented student access higher education. That is why C4D helps undocumented youth to have access to these necessities and to these aids that they are out there, but many undocumented students and colleges don't know about it.
So, how can they get information about this new law, and what are the benefits that they can get into?
Yes. So how can they get information? So if to anybody that is looking to this stream right now, if you go to Instagram or Facebook and you type CT for a Dream, you can find our website, and then you can contact us and we can help you out. How this financial aid works. So financial aid is it took us 8 years to fight for this law. We were able to pass it in 2018. This financial aid will provide undocumented students that have the requirements, because there are some requirements. Uh, it will provide money for them for college. One of the requirements is have attended college in Connecticut for at least 2 years or more, and be under 16 years old when you came to the United States. If you meet those requirements, you can apply for the ACTUS, and then you can just give it to the financial aid college in your school, and that's it. It can be a it can be difficult. It's a big package, but it can be intimidated, but it's not that difficult. So something that I like to say to my students when I help them out is to always read the small letters of the ACTUS. It will guide you how to apply for the financial aid. And also, if you contact us, we can help you out with the ACTUS. I can help you out with the ACTUS as well to apply for it.
That's great. And for those who want to get more information on our chat, our Hispanic Federation team is dropping information there where you can actually access to the link and contact this organization that is providing that assistance. Thank you so much, Nayeli. I think that it's interesting that, as we come up with new legislations and policies and benefits for the undocumented and immigrant community in general, this information needs to be there out there, and I'm sure that it will be also available in Spanish. But I have another question, and maybe Anka and Nayeli can both answer to. Just like you mentioned, Nayeli, transportation and trouble speaking language are some of the challenges, but also cultural barriers transcend each and every day, every aspect of our life, and mostly for refugees and immigrants, this is a great barrier. How can we end this cultural barrier, or how we can do better for the immigrant community?
I can start if you want, Janitsi.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm going to answer from the angle of the work that we do at Building One Community, or B1C as we call it. Most of our target population is from Central and South American countries, although since 2015, we have seen an increase in diversity in the countries of origin, including, Haiti, Bangladesh, Syria, and so on. And, some people that come at middle school age level. Some people come with master's degrees, but a commonality for all of them that they face is actually language barriers, as you were mentioning before. And they all face the many challenges associated with integrating into a new, unfamiliar community. For many of them, in Stanford, for example, there is a large community of Guatemalans whose native language is actually a Mayan dialect. So Spanish is the second language, English is a third language, and some of them are not literate in Spanish either. So language is a major issue. The vast majority also of our program participants are immigrants in service jobs who tend to work very long hours, as we know, and tend to be, incredibly burdened, more insecure, and are uninsured, and so on. Research shows, nonetheless, that English language and upskilling their job skills tend to be the largest barriers for their success. And then on top of all the things that were already happening, then the pandemic hit us. And as we know, many immigrants are still struggling to regain their footing in this pandemic, post-pandemic environment. So we know that COVID has disproportionately impacted our community, those working in service industries of retail, hospitality, and so on. So I think for us, going back to your question, to really dismantle these barriers, the first thing that you need to know is to really understand what all these socioeconomic and cultural barriers are. I think that's a first step. And then it's this is what helped us, at least at B1C, and I think at the sector as a whole, to create programs that support the immigrant community to address and overcome those barriers. Like I said, English language and civic programs, skills development programs are examples that will help address the barriers. Now, for everyone, for folks joining us today, I'd like to end this question saying that a way to really help at the personal level, to overcome these barriers for our immigrant community is to get to meet our immigrant neighbors. Go out there and meet the Marias and Mohammeds of the world, and to start understanding at a personal level that the immigrant community is not this monolithic group out there, but they have names and they're your neighbors. And so when we start getting to know our immigrant neighbors, and that's going to help them integrate in the society. That's going to help us understand these, cross-cultural barriers that we may have, and eventually overcome. Because in the end, we all share very similar dreams and hopes for our own life and that of our children. And I think, we can really be part of the solution of ending these barriers that don't allow for a healthy and successful integration.
Thank you, Aka. Nayeli?
Yes, thank you, Aka. So another thing is, as my other partner shares, understanding their needs, understanding their issues, understanding why what they need, so we can break those barriers and also help them, because there are too many things that we need, not only in our communities but also other communities. There are too many different cultures out there that they need resources, they need to fight for also their liberation. So how can we help them is by creating those resources, helping them to pass anything that they need, laws, anything in their schools, in their communities. And another thing that we can do is join their local organizations, join any local groups that they have. So that way we can understand their cultures, understand their issues, and also help them to move forward with whatever thing they're working on. That way we can end this any barriers in any difficulties.
That's right. It's all about information, empathy, and really our community has grown. The state of Connecticut absolutely has experienced a growing population, not only from immigrants, but a shift into regions and cities and towns. And it is important that after the pandemic, where everyone has been in closed doors, right? We continue to be mindful with our activities or understanding the diversity of our communities. So I love what you just shared. And as we move along, I'm sure that we can dig a little bit more deep in on this later on. But for now, let's just transition and let's talk about immigrant policies or immigration policy in the United States. The Pew Research Center actually published a report sometime like between 2014 and 2015 titled How U.S. Immigration Laws and Rules Have Changed Throughout the History. And it was interesting when I was reading it because it shows how all immigrant policy since 1700, starting with the Naturalization Act, which by then excluded non-white people from eligibility to naturalize. We can see that the immigration laws and policy that U.S. have adopted has been minimal in some areas. But most recently, in 2012, there was a deferred action for childhood arrivals, and then in 2014, it was the expansion for parents of Americans and lawful permanent residents, mostly known as DAPA and DACA, which it was expanded. What campaigns are you working on, and what are the next policies, immigration policies that U.S. should adopt based on your work and your experience?
I kind of start by saying that I feel that our immigration laws are one of the most complex there are, even more than the tax laws. We have seen throughout history, and you were mentioning, Yanitsi, the 1790 Naturalization Act. And, the United States has since acted a series of policies that ban, limit, or plainly allow at the convenience of the moment for certain categories of immigrants to actually come to the United States. But let me clarify something about DAPA, the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans and Lawful Permanent Residents, that Obama, it was Obama's executive order, really, that was never allowed to pass. It was temporarily blocked in 2015, and then with the Trump administration, they announced that the rescission of DAPA order. And I'm sure that Nayeli can talk more about DACA itself. But let me part, I think, from the premise that for us, immigrant rights are actually human rights. And yes, with the exception in the United States of certain rights relating to political participation, migrants should enjoy all the same rights that that protects every citizen. And that includes an emphasis on meeting the basic needs of the most vulnerable population in things like access to healthcare, for example. So going back to your question, our most recent advocacy work has actually been in supporting the expansion of Husky insurance to children age 18 and younger. And that's regardless of their immigration status. It was passed last year until children of 8 years old. We've been pushing and advocating with written and oral testimony to really expand it to at least children of 18 and younger. And this is something that we can all do, right? Just show up, give your support to the bills that make sense for the immigrant community, because it makes sense for everyone. I was providing oral testimony, and they're listening to the stories of so many of our immigrant communities, really powerful stories at many times very tragic. One cannot think that it doesn't just to make sense that that these are bills that we all should be supporting. We also last year lent our support to the Connecticut legislative initiative that passed on the creation for an educational program for the applicability of the minimum wage to domestic workers. It was an education program. And the last thing I wanted to say is that us at B1C have been working to increase our immigration legal services, and we recently added a removal defense practice. As of September last year, there were over 10,000 immigrants only in Fairfield County in deportation proceedings. Right, deportation cases fill out very quickly, and many of these people are parts of our community's fabric, right? And belong to what we call blended status families, in which I can be undocumented, maybe my spouse is a TPS, and my children are American. These are the people that are in deportation proceedings. So we added this removal defense practice to our array of services, but our goal in the end is to have universal representations in the same way that New York and other states offer this universal representation.
And I want to encourage everyone who is listening to today and seeing us through the social media platform to make any question on the chat. Just drop there your questions. We will be sharing more details about B1C, how you can connect with them if you're in the state of Connecticut. And thank you, Anka, really for taking the leadership on that organization and making sure that your programs are escalating and expanding the services to the immigrant communities. I wanted to go to Nayeli because I know that you touched base on the Husky for immigrants. And I know that Hispanic Federation, we have been very involved with this campaign as well. Just most recently, last week, we were in partnership with a coalition in hosting the legislative session where there was around 15 legislators gathering information and being educated on this issue. As well, we submitted in partnership with the coalition oral and written testimonies to raise the bill to 84 and at increasing the age from 8 to 18 years for income eligible persons medical assistance, regardless of his immigration status. But Nayeli, tell us how other people can support this, how they can be vocal about this issue, and how they can even volunteer.
Yes, let me just go back first to I want to mention, because this is a big win for in Connecticut. Last year, we were able to pass healthcare for kids 8 years old or minors, regardless of immigration status, and this is a big win. We were aiming for Husky for everybody, regardless of age and status, but at least we got something, which is amazing. As Enka and you mentioned last week on Thursday, we had a public hearing where 360 written testimonies were submitted. We had over 200 testimonies, and our testimony live, it was 12 hours long, which was amazing. A lot of people sharing their stories, why we need to pass Husky for everybody. This year, we're fighting for Husky for ages 9 to 18. Yes, we do want Husky for everybody, but for now, this is the only option that they gave us. But we're gonna keep fighting in the future to make sure that everybody in Connecticut has Husky. How to get involved? If you go to Facebook and you type Husky for Immigrants, you're gonna find our website. And then if you go to Google and you type Husky for Immigrants.gov, you're gonna find the campaign website, and you can sign the petition. We're collecting petitions right now. I'm sorry, we're collecting petitions right now. So if you're able to sign the petition, share it with your friends, anybody that can help. How can you get involved? So right now, Connecticut Students for a Dream is planning to talk to legislators in support of the Husky for Immigrants campaign. So you can get in contact with me or with the organization in general, and you can be part of this strategy. We're gonna be talking to them and making sure that they understand why we need Husky for everybody, and also why they need to help us and also to pass this law, because this is a need, a basic human need that we need. But yeah.
Thank you, Nayeli. So, you can be part of this. You can volunteer to make calls. You can also, most of the time, we are looking for volunteers as part of the coalition. Contact Nayeli to see how you can be involved in this and help with the campaign. We are a couple days away from the vote on this piece of legislation. So we need to get all the support at this moment from our community. And also, I wanted to just go back to the point where we are immigrants, but you guys are immigrants, Latina, and you guys are leaders in our community. And I remember around 2006, more or less, when I started volunteering in my church to host Know Your Rights workshops, providing English and citizenship classes. At that time, I never imagined that I was going to end up as a grassroots organizer like Nayeli, or much less a nonprofit executive like Anka. But I do remember seeing a lot of women leading campaigns, programs, and rallies to DC, right, in different places. And in fact, I feel like I was surrounded by the very first time by women with a clear understanding of purpose and a mission. And I used to see entire families united in support of the immigrant movement, with children and elderly, la mamá, el papá, la esposa, la tía, everyone was together, right, supporting this. And I remember having my mother, my husband with me, making calls, setting up tables and chairs. And I'm sure that you all have gone through that same experience because, like you said, Nayeli, this is a human right. And the immigration movement, when it started about basing that this is a human right. My question to you is, Anka, as the executive director, how will you categorize the impact of female leaders who have been out in the front of the immigration movement?
I have to say that in my own career, in the nonprofit sector in particular, women have actually been my role models, my mentors, my real inspiration. I had the fortune to count on my predecessor, the founding director of Building One Community, another Latina, super powerful, and a person, Catalina Horak, that I admire incredibly and beyond. So I have to say that I have drawn my aspiration and inspiration from them. To date, I am surrounded by amazing female leaders in the sector. Lots of wonderful and ladies, Latinas or not, making a huge difference in our state. They are bold, they are brave, and they are breaking old norms and rules, I feel, and they are leading the sector with a more holistic view to new heights. I also have to say that at B1C, I share a space with amazing and courageous women as well who understand the needs of our community. Like Nayeli was saying before, go and get and understand the need of the community. Those are the women that I share a space with. And these are my partners, but it's also, the amount of female volunteers that are there day in, day out, who are passionate to create impact at a larger scale. And I feel it is now, Yanitsi, our responsibility, and Nayeli the same, to foster more female leadership, to help them grow and occupy the space that, that the three of us occupy today. I feel that, I believe that it's over 75% in most of the sectors in the nonprofit realm are occupied by female workers, but yet the leadership positions are not so well represented by female leaders. So it is on us to really be the next inspiration for the ones following us, and helping these female leaders to grow to leadership positions.
And that's a fact, right? When we see the numbers and data research around the nonprofit sector, we see that women are really leading programs, but not necessarily at the senior level of those organizations. But I must say that I'm grateful for Hispanic Federation. Hispanic Federation is, a great diverse place to work, where we have a lot of senior female leaders really leading departments, leading programs. And the Hispanic Federation has adopted equity a plan, not only to hire and maintain staff, but also for equal salary pay. And I think that's it speaks volumes when we are advocating for our community, that we are also being advocated for ourselves, and our leaders in our company do the same for the staff. So I'm grateful for that, and I wanted to share it because, like Anka mentioned, is not unfortunately is not the golden rule for every organization. However, we have seen an increasing leadership not only in the nonprofit sector but also in the government sector. So we have seen how grassroots organizations and advocates from the community, in most recent years, we have seen an increasing number of females running for office, and not only actually running but actually being elected. So I think that, like we said in 2018, it was a woman year, but I think that it has been a woman decade where we have seen an increasing performance from female leaders in the government, private, and nonprofit sector. Nayeli, what can you tell us about female youth leaders in the movement?
Yes, so when I think about females in this movement, it comes to my mind the first person that introduced me to the organizing world, which was Angie Drovo, which is now the co-director of Connecticut Students for a Dream, and also Camila Bortoleto. I admire all the work that they do and all the work that they have done in the past, because they created and they helped to shape C4D. They were able to help me and make me speak up about the things that I needed to speak up for my community. I'm always gonna be grateful for them. Now they're co-directors, so they have grew. They have they. It's a big step from an organizer to now be a co-director. So yes, always grateful for them.
And I'm grateful for you both to joining me today. I wanted to give you the mic, and if you want to share some other final thoughts.
I'd like to share more about B1C because I kind of say, the ways that we can actually integrate them. But you spoke about our mission that it's integrating or advancing the integration, the successful integration of immigrants and their families in our community. And I wanted to share what we do in hope that we might get some volunteers and people to support the immigrant community at large. Building one community is fairly new, although we believe now that we're in the 2 digits, we are a grown-up organization, but we've been around for 10 years. And those 10 years, Yanitsi, you were talking before how our region has significantly changed. And we have seen that over the last decade. We have served over 13,000 people. I was mentioning before that the majority comes from Latin America, but we serve people from 112 countries, and they speak 43 different languages. So it's the large immigrant community that we see in our neighborhoods. And the way we organize strategically our program is what we call the 4 E's. We support the education. We educate, engage, empower, and employ. And we have a number of services that you can look in our website, but I wanted to call out the 4E, the engage piece, and it's where we really engage the community as a whole in this mission of advancing the integration of our immigrants. So I think this is just a call out to everyone to engage with all of us, with organizations like Nayeli's or mine, and show up, do your part, and we are more than happy to welcome you and join our forces in this endeavor. So thank you.
Thank you, Anka. And I think that's the goal, right? The goal is to inform about the services, volunteer opportunities, internship opportunities, how you can not only get information and resources from this organization, but also how can you get involved with some of the issues that you feel passionate and intrigued by. And these 2 organizations are great organizations that are doing work in and out every single state in our communities. They are member and sub-grantees and partners in the work that we do in our community. So we encourage you to take the time and really know them better. We also encourage you to follow us on Facebook to know more about the resources and campaigns pursuing the immigrants' right advocacy. More important, please join us on Facebook group for the Hispanic Federation New England region. There we post information about all the volunteers opportunities, the program services, and upcoming events. Hispanic Federation is the nation premier Latino nonprofit membership organization. We have over 31 years now in the making, and we seek to empower and advance the Hispanic community. We support Hispanic families and strengthen Latino institutions through work in the areas of education, health, immigration, civic engagement, economic empowerment, the environment, and many other initiatives. For more details about our work and the Hispanic Federation, please also visit our website, www.hispanicfederation.org, and you have it on your screen. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your the morning and the money too. And we will see you next month for our April virtual Cafecito on hiring of Puerto Rican teachers in the state of Connecticut and how to advocate for your children and the school system. I'm so grateful for having you both here. And I wanted to also say thank you so much to the team that is behind the scenes. Selena Marte, our program manager, Fatima Aviles, our program coordinator, and David Castillo, our director for communications and social media, who has put together all this program for you today. Don't forget to follow us and click on the link and also join us on the group for Hispanic Federation New England. Hasta pronto y muchas gracias a ustedes por acompañarnos en el día de hoy. Anka, Nayeli, un placer tenerlas en el programa de hoy.
El placer ha sido mío.
Gracias. Bye.
Gracias. Adiós.